All right, welcome to Module 11, which is all about equations. Make sure you get your name on your packet. We are starting this on the 17th. There's 4 lessons, 1, 2, 3, 4. And this will be our last module of the year. Let's jump into the pre-module review. All right, our pre-module review is about expressions and equations. You might already know some of these terms. Some of them might be new to you, which is okay. Our objective is that I can understand the difference between an expression and an equation and identify key pieces in each. And by key pieces, I mean we're going to talk about vocab a little bit. So let's look at an expression. An expression is just a math statement. There's some numbers, there's some variables, there's some operations happening here. We got addition and subtraction, variables A and G, and then some numbers. There's 3 vocab terms that are really important for this module. The first is variable. A variable is just a letter. A and G are variables. Another word we're going to learn is coefficient. A coefficient is any number that is multiplying by a variable or that is in front of a variable and attached. In this case, 2 is our only coefficient. This would be 2 times A. So 2 is the coefficient of A. Lastly, we have our constant. A constant is just a number that doesn't have a variable attached to it. In this case, 14 is our constant. Notice there's no variables next to it. It's just a number all by itself, separated from everything by an operation on the left and an operation on the right. So that's expressions. An equation is just like an expression, except now we have an equal sign. Expressions, no equal sign. Equations, equal sign. That tells us that everything on this side is worth 19 once you do all the math. Again, we're going to label our pieces. Our variable, we have A and G again. Our coefficient is the number multiplying by a variable, or the number in front of a variable, in this case, 2 times A. And then we have 2 constants. We not only have 14, but we have 19 is also a constant. Notice there's nothing attached to 19. There's no variable. It's just a number. So constants are just numbers. All right, we are going to go ahead and practice identifying parts of expressions and equations. You are going to need 2 additional things besides your pencil. You're going to need a blue highlighter and a yellow highlighter. We're going to start with the yellow highlighter. So grab your yellow highlighter. We're going to highlight all of our variables in yellow. Remember, variables are letters. So anywhere we see a letter, we're going to highlight it. So in 14 plus 3x minus 9, x is a variable. It's a letter. Notice how it's a kind of a curly x. If you see an x that's not curly, it might not be a variable, but if it's curly, it's definitely a variable. So this isn't a multiplication symbol, it's a variable. Next we have 2w minus 4r plus 9s minus 13. Well, we have w, we have r, and we have s. Those are all letters, so those are all variables. Lastly, we have 17x plus 19 equals y plus 7. We have an equation here. We have 2 variables. We have our x, again, curly, and our y. And those are the only 2 variables in that. So our variables are letters. Next, we're going to highlight our coefficients in blue. So get out your blue highlighter. Our coefficients are the numbers that are attached to a variable or multiplying by a variable. 2 times A. 2 is the coefficient. All right, we're going to highlight coefficients in blue. So we're looking for numbers attached to variables. I already see one here. We have 3x. That means that 3 is a coefficient. Next, we have 2w. We have a number attached to a variable. 2 is a coefficient. Minus 4r. 4 is a coefficient. I kind of highlighted R2 on accident. And then we have plus 9s. 9 is also a coefficient. So we highlighted all of the numbers that are attached to our variables. Lastly, we have 17x plus 19 equals y plus 7. Here's our coefficient. 17 is attached to the x. All right, we're all done with our highlighters now. Our last part, we're going to underline our constants. Constants are just our whole numbers, or not necessarily whole numbers, our numbers that aren't attached to anything. 14, 14 and 19, these are constants. So we're going to underline our constants. In 14 plus 3x minus 9, well, 14 is a constant, it's by itself, and 9 is a constant because it's by itself. There's no variable attached. In 2w minus 4r plus 9s minus 13, 13 is the only constant. The others are attached to variables, which makes them coefficients. Lastly, 17x plus 19 equals y plus 7. Well, 17 is attached to x, so that's not a constant. 19 is by itself, so that is. Y doesn't have a coefficient. 7 is by itself, so that is also a constant. All right, you're going to go ahead and jump into 11.1, and let me know if you have questions.